This looks like a perfectly normal first generation Mac Mini, but it's not. This Mac Mini has a secret. In fact, if you look on top, it has a notch. This is a rare prototype Mac Mini with an iPod dock. And today I'm going to walk you guys through why this exists, why a Mac Mini with an iPod dock never existed publicly, and we're gonna explore this rare prototype. So get subscribed, leave a like down below, and let's get into it. Hey guys, it's me, Luke, coming to you today with my iPhone held 9.8 feet in the air to talk to you about today's video sponsor, Casetify. And oh boy, I sure do hope that nothing terrible happens to my... Oh no! Not my iPhone 13 Pro Max with Casetify Ultra Impact case on it. Oh, thank goodness. I'm really glad that I protected my iPhone with Casetify's shock-absorbing technology. On the Impact case here, you're rated for 6.6 feet of drop protection, and on the Ultra Impact, which has these special padded corners, you've got 9.8 feet of drop protection. Plus, you don't have to sacrifice style with lots of customization. Choose from dozens of designs, prints, patterns, different colors, and even custom text. Plus, Casetify cases are made from 65% recycled and plant-based materials and are coated in Defensify, an antimicrobial compound that kills 99.9% of bacteria. Protect your phone today by checking out the link in the description below and using code 15miani to get 15% off your cases. And now let's get back to the video. So on the outside, there are only a few signs that this is anything other than a perfectly normal original Mac Mini. Obviously, we have the very noticeable notch up at the top. It is kind of weird actually how similar this looks to an iPhone notch. And around the back here, we have a whole bunch of labels, which are mostly coming off, that include references to it being EVT. So this is a pretty early prototype, and obviously it never made it to the final production version of the Mac Mini. Now, this prototype was loaned to me by Donglebook Pro, who is an avid collector of this stuff and who I have linked down in the description below. So definitely check out his channel for a ton of interesting videos on prototypes. But the story behind this Mac Mini with the iPod dock is actually really interesting. It was a pet project of Tony Fadell, the brains behind the iPod and the iPhone. And he apparently really believed that the Mac Mini was the perfect place to merge these two product lines. Now, you may have noticed that this dock is a very specific shape, and that shape actually matches the first generation iPod Nano. I happen to have one right here that actually belonged to Tony Fadell. This iPod was actually purchased with another that bore Tony Fadell's name and was later returned to Tony Fadell when he acknowledged ownership of it. It's kind of crazy. And as you might imagine, it fits like a glove. So this is what the Mac Mini experience could have looked like. Now, I know what you might be thinking at this point. Number one, wow, that's actually Tony Fadell's iPod. That's really freaking cool. But number two is this Mac Mini only works with this iPod Nano. And that's a good point. It is a slight limitation that only this specific iPod would work with the dock in this Mac Mini, but apparently the idea would have been that future iPod Nanos would have retained at least this bottom footprint and then been able to keep using this dock. Now, for a number of reasons, this Mac Mini didn't make it to production. One of the causes, I have to imagine, is the fact that it would only work with one of the iPods in the lineup. So if you bought this thing but didn't have the iPod Nano, it would have had an empty dock all the time. That's a little weird and not very Apple. Another factor is that the iPod Nano was reportedly not ready for launch when the Mac Mini was. So they would have had to launch a Mac Mini with a dock for a product that didn't exist. Also, a potential third reason is that there's a giant sticker on the side that says fail. So Evidently it failed. I mean, look at this. We got the prototype Mac Mini with the iPod in it, connected to a contemporary Apple Cinema display. This is pretty cool. Let's turn this thing on. I don't know what's inside this Mac Mini. I don't know what software is on it. I don't know what hardware it is. Oh, I didn't turn it on. It's just decided that it wants to. It's eager to get going, and wow, is that loud. There's that good old OS X blue. Oh my God, oh God, what resolution is it running? The iPod comes up. It comes up as a USB device. It has like a sample template for a contact on it. And really interestingly, it shows up as a USB device, just like as if you plugged it in with a regular 30-pin cable. So there's not anything really super special about this iPod dock other than that it's built into the case. Oh wait, it's got a Core Solo. So this is actually the second revision of the Mac Mini during the Intel transition. Oh wait, yeah, a 1,1 Mac Mini would be a PowerPC Mac Mini, but this one has a Core Solo. So I think that would probably put this Mac Mini somewhere in 2005. So this would have probably been one of the early testing machines while the Intel transition was underway. So according to the serial number on the bottom, this thing was made at the very end of November 2005. So it does predate the Intel transition, which is pretty cool. That's a very early prototype, but that is also after the iPod Nano came out. So it's possible that while originally the iPod wasn't ready for the Mac Mini, by the time the Mac Mini was ready for the iPod Nano, they were already working on a second generation of the iPod Nano, which came out in 2006 and had a different design that wouldn't have worked with this particular dock. So that would have had to been different. It seems like these two devices just didn't line up in their timing. I do kind of want to open this thing up. Let's take a look inside, shall we? All right, so let's open up Tony Fadell's pet project, the Mac Mini with an iPod dock. Inside, it looks not dissimilar to a typical Mac Mini of this generation, except of course we do have a few things. EVT B sample sticker across the optical drive, and on the other side we actually have this handwritten text, qualification sample Rev 1. That's very cool. Now of course, one of the biggest things that you'll notice is there's this tiny little board that comes off the iPod dock. There's a ribbon cable. That ribbon cable connects onto the main system. And actually, apparently, some production versions of the Mac Mini shipped with this connector. It just wasn't populated because they ended up using the standard top case that didn't have the iPod dock. In fact, and this is absolutely crazy, I went on iFixit's teardown of the contemporary 2005 Mac Mini, and if you zoom in on the logic board, you can actually see empty pads where this connector used to be in prototypes. Another key difference that you would notice on a prototype like this is the board is actually green. So in the mid-2000s, Apple used blue PCBs for all of their production versions. So seeing a bunch of green boards around the device definitely shows you that it's EVT. In fact, here's a small little interconnect board that's blue, so that would be what they would typically use. And then all of the other stuff, well, it's green. This is all loose, this like antenna. I guess it's just, there's like no screw posts or anything. This just kind of floats in here. I don't know if that's on the final version, but there's nowhere to screw it in, so it just kind of hangs out. Don't worry about that. So that's a quick tour of this extremely rare, extremely interesting prototype Mac Mini. I'm really curious to know what you guys think about this. Do you think that Tony Fadell was onto something when he wanted to put an iPod on a Mac Mini? Or do you think it's a little bit crazy? I mean, I for one think it's an interesting idea if they had actually committed to it and said, okay, we're gonna make iPods in this form factor, we're gonna make Mac Minis with these docks. But just the fact that you would have had to specifically buy an iPod Nano just to use with your Mac Mini, I think it makes this idea a little bit of a pipe dream, and I kind of get why it didn't make it to production. So thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to check out Donglebook Pro, who provided these extremely rare and extremely interesting prototypes. As usual, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.